You know, it's funny how life has a way of kicking you in the gut just when you think you've got it all figured out. I stood at JFK Airport recently, staring at my reflection in the glass, another business trip, another chance at redemption. But the truth was, I wasn't the mighty CEO anyone thought I was. My empire was crumbling, just like my marriage, a tragic echo of the worst news I'd just received my daughter wasn't coming back. There I was, a millionaire in a suit, drowning in the chaos of my life, grappling with the weight of guilt and emptiness. People who knew me used to say I was invincible, no challenge too great, no competitor too fierce. But in that moment, all those titles felt hollow. As I boarded that flight to London, rain pattering against the windows, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was about to meet someone who would turn my world upside down. It was just a hunch at first, but deep down, I knew things were about to change. What I didn't realize was that redemption could come wrapped in the innocence of a young girl, and the quiet strength of a mother fighting against all odds. In a matter of hours, sitting next to strangers, I was on the brink of confronting truths I had tucked away for far too long. Truths about my life, my choices, and the meaning of success itself. It's a journey that would take me from despair to unexpected hope, redefining everything I ever believed about who I was and who I could become. I'll never forget that day, the day I discovered just how fragile my empire really was. It was a typical Tuesday morning in the conference room, the air thick with anticipation and the scent of burnt coffee. I sat at the head of the table, surrounded by a group of eager young faces, my team, my supposed allies, ready to discuss the next big leap for Project Nova. But the laughter in the room stung like acid. Did you hear Ethan's fired again? Roger jeered, his smug smile the embodiment of everything I despised. I glanced up from my notes, the punchline hitting me harder than a physical blow. No one took me seriously anymore. Not the board, not the press, and certainly not my so-called friends. Enough, I said, my voice barely hiding the tremor of indignation. I'm still the CEO here. Oh, come on, Ethan, you've got to be real. Another piped up, clearly relishing the chance to take a shot at me. A company in freefall can't be led by a man who's lost everything. Their chuckles echoed in my ears like a cruel judgment, a reminder that I was now the punchline of a joke I never wanted to be part of. And just like that, the facade crumbled. I felt my heart race disbelief coursing through me. These were the same people I'd mentored, invested in only for them to revel in my downfall. It was betrayal wrapped in casual disdain, and I felt it in every fibre of my being. Then my phone buzzed a message that tilted the world off its axis. We've cut funding for your project. Maya's non-profit funding. My hand had been in that pocket, manipulating lives for a bottom line. Suddenly, my decisions weren't just numbers. They were heartbreaks. Ethan, Maya's voice cut through the haze, a touch of desperation in her tone, but I had already fumbled my way into this mess. I was losing them. I was losing myself. You know how they say that when it rains it pours? Well, for Ethan Cole, it was like a monsoon of bad decisions and public scrutiny. Suddenly, his heart-to-heart with Maya on that flight felt as fleeting as a summer's day. The moments he thought he might actually be turning a corner, life threw another curveball threats about Project Nova, the very initiative that was spiraling his company and him out of control. It's funny in a twisted way, isn't it? A CEO drowning in his own storm, unable to see that he was the author of the chaos. As if that weren't enough, there was the moment his phone buzzed with a message that felt like ice water splashed in his face. "We're watching you, Ethan." I mean, who doesn't love a bit of poetic irony? Here's a guy who thought he could simply bulldoze his way through corporate life, and now he was the target of his own grenade. Talk about a plot twist. He went from throwing shade to standing in the limelight of wrath entirely unprepared. Each obstacle stacked up like the abandoned toys in a child's playroom, reminding Ethan of the innocence he had sacrificed on his quest for success. He was stumbling, hitting walls, and dodging the doubters. People were whispering and headlines screamed Mr. Cole in dire straits. Meanwhile, Maya was back home fighting to save her non-profit from cuts that were shockingly the direct result of his greed. It's like he was accidentally the villain in someone else's hero story. But let's be real, it wasn't all doom and gloom. Somewhere in that swirling mess of guilt and anger, there was a flicker. Ethan had the audacity to hope. Hope that tiny spark flickered bright amidst the sea of chaos, reminding him that even CEOs can have a redemption arc. I mean, if Hollywood can make sequels, why not real life? This was just the calm before a whole new storm, and Ethan was gearing up to face it head on. The plane touches down, jolting Ethan back to reality. He glances at his phone. Threatening messages flood in. Project Nova is collapsing. You'll pay for this. His heart races. Memories of his daughter flood in the laughter, the innocence. How did it come to this? He's not just losing a company. He's losing himself. Then a moment of clarity strikes harder than any turbulence. Maya's words echo in his mind. People are suffering because of decisions you make. He sees it now, the stark truth of his choices. A corporate titan, yes, but at what cost, he thinks of Amira. The way her small hand reached for his, brimming with belief. Innocent hope. They may be sleeping in an airport, but their lives are vibrant, pulsing with purpose. What does he stand for? His gaze shifts to the window, a world full of possibilities, a world he's neglected. A burning weight of guilt lifts, but it's replaced by something stronger, resolve. He stands at a crossroads, sweat trickling down his brow. Does he bury this guilt and carry on, or dare to redeem it? A name crosses his mind, Maya fighting for those who have little. Each second feels preciously heavy. He remembers the crayon in his pocket, bright and hopeful. A child's tool of creation and imagination. He grips it tight, not just an object to promise. He won't ignore the pain anymore. He'll expose Project Nova. He'll stand for something greater than himself. The flight attendant approaches. "Sir, are you all right?" Ethan smiles, but it's more than a facade. It's a spark igniting within. "I'm ready to fight." This is his moment. From despair to determination. Unstoppable. As the spotlight illuminated the cavernous room of the International Humanitarian Conference, Ethan Cole stood at the podium, heart pounding beneath his crisp suit. The crowd was a sea of faces, some skeptical, others hopeful. Here, in the concrete jungle of London, the weight of his past settled deep in his bones. But he was ready. Today he would reclaim his narrative. He cleared his throat, glancing briefly at the familiar faces in the front row. Maya's resolute gaze steadying him. Amira's wide eyes filled with innocent belief that he could change. With each word he spoke recounting the insidious truths behind Project Nova, he felt the chains of guilt and shame loosening. We can no longer hide behind veils of charity when our actions harm those we aim to help, he declared, the passion in his voice rising like the tide. The first murmurs of disbelief from former allies turned into gasps of realization. One by one, accusations of foul play and manipulation began to bubble through the audience. Walter, his former confidant, shifted uncomfortably at the back, the facade cracking. It was as if the weight of their deceit had suddenly found its way to the surface, and the sunlight of accountability felt warm against Ethan's skin. As applause thundered through the room, the blanketed fears he'd carried for so long began to slip away. His phone buzzed incessantly in his pocket media outlets, eager for the scandalous scoop news headlines practically writing themselves. But amidst the chaos, it was the quiet smirk he caught in the reflection of the podium's polished wood that reminded him of his journey from darkness to light. This moment, this victory was not merely for him. It was for Maya, for Amira, for every life impacted by the decisions he made. Yet, as the crowd rose to their feet, cheering his name, a flicker of sorrow still nested in his heart. The scars lingered, and while the world celebrated his emergence, he knew that redemption didn't erase pain. It simply transformed it into a burnished wisdom that would guide him forward. As I sit in this quiet cafe, far removed from the chaos that once defined my existence, I can't help but reflect on the winding path that led me here. The journey of a CEO burdened with power, grief, and the relentless chase for success led me to the profound realization that true strength often lies not in domination, but in vulnerability. It's a sad irony, isn't it? In a world that worships power, our most significant lessons often come from moments of weakness, those cracks in our armor, where empathy can seep in and transform our outlook. Meeting Maya and her daughter Amira changed everything for me. Their struggles illuminated a truth I'd long buried. The connections we forge with others can redefine our sense of purpose. Is revenge a form of justice, or is forgiveness the ultimate form of power? I once believed a ruthless path was the only way to secure my legacy, and yet now I question whether my previous failures might just be the best thing that ever happened to me. In choosing to expose Project Nova, I confronted my past and embraced the possibility of redemption, a choice that sparked deep conversations about morality and the real price of ambition. But was it the right choice? Can anyone truly escape the shadows of their past once they've tasted the bitterness of power? I leave you with this question. Is it better to be feared and powerful, or to be loved and human? Share your thoughts below. Have your choices ever led you down a path of unexpected redemption? Let's dive into this complex conversation together.